Yo, what's up, guys? It's me, Tito Bapo, and I have a very tight crowd here on the stream. So, welcome, G Bros. Welcome to the stream.
Hello.
And welcome, everyone, to TD Talks. Oh, looks like your max fell off.
A
So,
little crowded here right now, but also very crowded in the actual top deck.
top deck.
We just have a new releases here.
Anywho, let's move on to our first segments of the day, which is TD Finance. All right, so there's still our face right there. Let's just bring in uh, the weekly changes for Outlaws, and some of the cards that have gotten some huge impact over a couple of weeks ever since Outlaws came out. Uh, as you can see, the biggest winner right now
No.
are actually two cards in standard, which is the upcoming card called Slick Shots Show Off. It's a 2 mana red bird wizard for 1 and 2. It's flying and haste, and whenever you cast a non-creature spell, it gets +2/+0 until end of turn. So it's like a pseudo prowess card, and it has the plot ability. So the reason for this spike, with the 80% weekly chain off the top with this card is because it's the one of the most hyped cards right now in standard, as well as other formats. If you think about it, like for the first time in a very long time, we've had a very powerful red card that has an evasion and it can really close out games very quickly. Because with this card alone, and then you top it off with Monstrous Rage, that's 6 damage with just 2 of those cards. So, and then if you have a bunch of prowess creatures on the field, you're just pretty much gonna win the game right off the bat. So, no shocker as to why I was surprised why this was sitting at $7 for ever since the spoilers came out and the pre-release as well. But now we're seeing the spike happening. People are starting to get the new card, and they're realizing that it's definitely the upgrade that's needed for not just in mono red but is it decks as well. Because as you've noticed, the new set basically reprinted the allied or enemy
Enemy Fastland. Yeah.
the enemy fastlands. So you got the blue red version, Spire Bluff Canal. I think it went down to $7, so it's not like 300 each. So just coming up from like almost $10 to $12 when before the reprint was announced. So if you're looking to build your or upgrade your mono red decks or trying to showcase your Izzet decks, now is the good time to pick up these cards, because I think this is gonna shoot up when we're gonna see results in the next upcoming weeks for your RCQ nearby, as well as your weekly events. For example, an MTGO challenge, the not the modern challenge, the standard challenge, it's gonna make some huge impact in the format. Also, the second card is Aftermath Analyst. I mean, no shocker. Timor, the Timor deck is already making a lot of impact in the format, not just in standard but also in Pioneer, because there's actually a Pioneer version of this where you have access to Growth Spiral and Omnath, Locus of Creation. Remember that card? Like, people hated that card, and but now it seems to be a bit fair. And with the new cards like Aftermath Analyst from Murders, it's showing a lot of resilience as a combo package, like a combo ramp type of deck. So it's very exciting to see these types of decks coming off. Except if you're an aggro player, because it's a blocker, a 1/3 blocker, and then it brings back all your lands. The lands that you want to bring back are the fetch lands from New Capenna, which gain 1 life. You search for a basic, and then you just kill them with World Rage. What was that?
Yeah, the
red green card. So super crazy for this card to be going off. And you saw Nissa, the Resurgent Animist, as well, spiking up for the past couple of weeks. So yeah, we're very excited to see as the card keeps on going up in price. For Pioneer, let's see what's happening on this end. Not much as well. I would say the only noticeable card for this list would be Mana Confluence, because Amalia has been on the rise lately in the meta for Pioneer. So I think that's the only justifiable reason why this card is going up in value. If you look at the loser side, you have Sorin already stabilizing at $60. Now it's moving down to 58. So I think people are starting to get a hold of their cards, and then some of the movement is slowing down, which is why the adjustment of the price. But red black vampires is still one of the biggest threats in the format right now. So if you're not prepared to deal with this deck, I think you're gonna have a hard time weaving throughout the metagame in Pioneer. So other than that, most of these cards are just basically influenced
Commander.
by Commander. Like, nobody plays this card in Pioneer, not even in Modern. So uh, there's not much to talk about. I guess the mill decks are having a good time. Like, who would have thought $8 for Psychic Corrosion? Like, you just want your mill decks to be happily milling your opponents. Even Jace is slowly getting up. Not sure what's going on here, but I would say Pioneer is pretty healthy uh, type of metagame right now. For modern, still mostly
Yeah, mostly.
commander cards. The biggest thing that I would notice is the Mind Break Trap, because it got reprinted in Outlaws at Thunder Junction. So now is actually a good time to pick up those cards, especially the reprinted ones, because I think the reprinted is running at about like $40,
Mm.
even going down to like 35. So if you could steal one of those cards uh, for that price, I think it's a good steal. Because it's just one of the best counter spells per se in the field of commander. Maybe even modern if you're seeing some degenerate decks coming off. But of course, they just banned Cascade, so most likely not gonna happen anytime soon. With those crazy stacks. Other than that, there's not much to talk about with these cards. Yeah, these are mostly commander cards that you'd want in your decks. Maybe a little bit of elf over there. So yeah, what do you think about the current state of some of these cards
Yeah, I
on
think
HUD?
Modern right now is currently at a standstill just because of Yagmoth. So I don't really expect anything to move. Pioneer, though, Pioneer is I'm gonna expect a lot of movement because of just how powerful OTJ is. Thunder Junction. What's the name of the set again? Outlaws of Thunder Junction. Yeah, so many powerful cards have been introduced, such as, of course, Slick Shot Show Off, and of course, the Grand Arbiter. So I will be expecting those cards to rise up, as you have just said earlier. Those are my expected cards to just rise up because of just how powerful they are. But I am also curious why Jace and Oko are not that high on the list,
Mm.
because those were the cards that were hyped up during the spoiler season.
Yeah, because I remember Wizards was saying that they wanted to print only one planeswalker per set, but then they broke that rule in Outlaws, printing two planeswalkers. But then again, they're not really that game breaking per se. People just got excited how the cards were designed, which is pretty good, and then they later realized that they're not as good as people would think. So unless we're probably going to see some really cool synergy moving forward into the next set, which is, I believe,
Mm.
Bloomborough.
Ooh, okay.
So we might see a resurgence of these cards in the future. But right now, I think they're not ready for the current metagame in Standard. Not even in Pioneer. I think they're a little bit too slow. Unless you have that janky, mono blue devotion deck with ley lines, and then you just flash
Yeah.
Jace. I think that's a cool way to play it. Or, not much other than that. All right, so I think we can move on to OP. Do the honors, my friend.
Yeah, and I think we can start it here for the One Piece. Here we go, and you can see I will be only focusing on two cards: Katakuri and of course Ace. Ace has been our show off card last week. it's still the same price, around 1,250 pesos. But of course, the katakuri here is because again, April 1 just happened. April Fools, and of course, at the same time, Sakazuki was banned, the boogeyman of the format, and people are hyping up Yellow. It's seriously one of the strongest cards right now, and especially without Black, basically removing all of their big cards. Yellow is happily taking over the metagame and being only stopped by, I guess, RP Law or Bonnie is even having a hard time answering this. So that's why cards such as Katakuri is slowly rising up back again. It went from 1,000 yen to again 3,500 yen. Uh, and here we go. Yeah, it's even some shops are selling it for around 4,780 yen or around 2,000 pesos. So if you have bought Katakuris when it was low, you're gonna be very happy for your investment. So I guess we'll go now to Vanguard. Here you go, Anjo. It's your turn.
Okay, so here we go. It's Vanguard. So this is a order card that was released in BT10. It was not played that much, and this is the FR version. That's why it's super expensive. But currently, it's being played in the Blanc de Meyer decks, and Blanc de Meyer is very recently uh, taking a hold on the meta game with its divine skill. So if you have any FR versions of this card, you would be very happy because people are playing this to call again their G3 that moves the soul. So the next card here is Prescription Angel. So this card is mostly just hype. It was hyped by a Japanese player a few weeks ago when Leah Fall was released. I was revealed. I mean, I don't really expect this card to keep its current pricing. But then again, people are still experimenting on what Leah Fall can be and if it is good enough for the deck. So, if you have any, I might as well keep him right now. But if you have any extras, sell them. So and for the hype. So take it away, then, Jerson.
All right. Pero what about in the triple drive booster? Are we expecting some chase cards to really get uh you know from what we've seen so
Mm.
far?
Yeah, I think the one card that people are still hyping up for the triple drive booster is, of course, the chase card, the Angel Bracing Ladder. I think you can check it right now. I will check it at
Okay.
here
But
live.
personally, just to answer your question, dear Jerson, though, Angel Bracing Ladder is relevant right now in the current BSF season
Mm,
because it's a tournament season and you need it to counter the best deck in the format, which is Shiranui. But unfortunately, we also have news from the Japanese side that Shiranui is going to be hit in an upcoming ban list.
Mm.
So
mm,
it's we don't know yet if this is going to be relevant for only one season. So some people are holding off from buying it right now because why would I buy it while it's still hype when in the next during the BCS season, Shiranui is no longer going to be in the meta. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's probably the mindset of people right now. That's why a lot of people are not trying to buy this card as possible.
I see, I see.
Yeah.
So what deck does
It's
this card?
generic, so everyone can
Oh,
play it.
generic.
Yeah.
Sheesh.
That's why it's has a very high price point right now, $80 for one card.
Yeah,
That's why
dang.
people were buying up so many triple drive boosters
That's why I
here
buy
in
it.
CDO. Like, yeah.
Ah, so no wonder it got sold out even in Manila.
Oh, yeah. That one
Crazy.
card is just so powerful. It stops Shiranui, which is the best deck right now.
Have we seen any of this so far?
Yeah, I
When
think
they pulled earlier,
they already pulled two or three,
two
Yeah,
or three.
22 or 3 copies. Yeah.
and per case is around 4 to 5.
Oh.
Yeah, so that's why.
So not a bad hit for top deck. So thank you for that, guys. I think we can move on. Just
Triple
So,
drive.
sorry, so wala nakapalit. So, yeah.
All right, let's move on to the top deck of the week. Let's see. We can pull Mr. Carlo here. All right. So in the Magic side, we're going to be covering the Pioneer, Is It, and Soul for the top deck of the week. The reason why is that there's been a resurgence of this deck for the past couple of weeks, especially after murders at Carlo Manor Pro Tour, where Mr. Jose Hilario, one of our representatives in the Philippines, was able to bring this deck, and he actually got to top 16
Mm.
for a finish, so which is not bad considering how hard it is to win in Pro Tours. So the game plan for Is It and Soul is you basically play one of your one drops and attach Is It and Soul artifact, your enchantment here, to one of those tokens, artifact tokens, and then beat your opponent down for like for a couple of turns and win. And then you just tempo out with some of your removals and counter spells, such as Metallic Rebuke and Spell Pierce, along with Torch Tower, which I believe is a meta call for the Phoenix decks, as well as the Amalia decks. And we also have Shrapnel Blast for your top end finisher. You know, when things get a little bit hard to get into damage, combat damage, but you have your staple cards that could make artifacts such as Spyglass Siren, Voldarin Epicure, and then of course, who doesn't miss Smuggler's Copter? Such a broken card. And then in the sideboard, very typical. You have a Crown War. I believe that's for the Atraxa decks. You just want to get them out of the way. And Rampaging Ferocidon for
Malia.
Amalia. Unlicensed Heroes for your graveyard decks, such as uh, maybe Greasefang, but mostly for the Phoenix. I think Phoenix is just super like overplayed right now in the meta. Then more counter spells for probably the blue white control decks, and Rending Volley as well. So, but with this list, I think it's not respecting the Rakdos vampires enough. If they get lucky, they would pair up with some of the lists where they don't run edict effects, because it's definitely going to be hard to interact with this card, with this deck. Let's say uh, attaching your Ensoul artifact onto a Darksteel Citadel, that's going to be hard to beat. So you don't want to trade your Vein Ripper for a land, uh, or actually chump block because you can't kill it. So, but I think they might find a way in playing around, the deck with the Thoughtseize. So I guess that's why it's very confident in going into the meta right now with this deck. So which is why this is my pick of the top deck of the week. So, and I think this is the deck that Jeremy and I have talked about for the past week because he was thinking about
Mm.
which deck to bring in the next season. So this would be definitely my choice if I want to snag some wins.
Yeah. It's just a very strong deck. It's a very strong aggro core, especially with the one drop and then into a 5/5 next turn. You're
Mhm.
not really gonna expect to block that 5/5 anytime soon. It's gonna be a super fast deck. And of course, if you have an aggro deck and you put permissions in it with such as Spell Pierce and Rebuke, you can basically I think that's the that's the reason why he doesn't really have anything against vampires, because once you just answer the Sorin Planeswalker, there's no other play for turn three.
Yeah,
Yeah.
pretty much. Because your one drops, when they make the artifacts as they enter the battlefield, they've already done their job.
Yeah.
So you can just sacrifice them when you try to deal with the Vein Rippers. So I guess this is why it may have a decent matchup for the deck against the vampires. And then it looks to be very prepared for the Amalia and Izzet Phoenix decks. I'm not sure about the blue white control. I think they're gonna have a hard time with that, which is why they're having a bunch of counter spells on the sideboard. That would explain a lot of those. But the number one card that I noticed is the Cryptic Coat, which is a pretty good synergy with Insult Artifact. And then if things get really bad, you can just bounce your Cryptic Coat and then get a lot of
Oh,
value once
yeah.
again. So very nice, very nice. So that's it for Magic. Let's see what you guys can bring to the table with
Yeah.
OP and Vanguard.
Let's go first with here we go. With One Piece. And of course, again, like I said, Sakazuki is banned. So we are now going to the other blue black leader, Rebecca. Rebecca is
Ah,
slowly rising up once again because people are still not respecting the control aspect of blue black. Although it is slightly weaker than Sakazuki because Sakazuki has just so many one cost cards and that it can buff, especially with the Hound Blaze. Yeah. So it's not really as good against mirror or actually it can't trade that hard, but it is it leans very strongly in the control shell, especially with cards such as Orlombus, that just gives -4 cost, and then you have other cards such as Kairos that just KOs any characters instead. So this is just your typical blue black control deck, and people are just slowly realizing that, hey, this deck still exists. It can go against the yellow menace, and they are respecting it right now. So if you are still wanting to kind of play that control deck that you're used to with Sakazuki, Rebecca is a very viable option right now. So yeah, what do you think, Jerson?
Yeah. So the first question I want to ask is, after the banning of Sakazuki, how are things right now in the current metagame in One Piece?
Yeah,
Like,
I think
is everyone happy with the result? Like, are we seeing new decks coming to the fold after Sakazuki saying goodbye to everyone?
yeah, kind of yes and no. Yes, because new decks are being brought to life, like such as Purple Luffy is now being a deck again. Um,
Yeah, I
uh,
remember that was a strong
yeah,
deck
that a
when he
very
first came
strong
out,
deck.
and then it fell off really quick.
But the biggest decks that were very happy with the ban list was the three brothers. So which is
Mm,
Luffy,
black
Ace,
yellow.
and Sabo. Yeah, black yellow, because their deck relies heavily on calling early those cards, and then yeah, Sakazuki just answered those cards that were just cheated out by the baby baby versions.
Hmm.
So right now, uh, most decks cannot answer that, especially if it was called early turn 3, turn 4.
Hmm.
So yeah, so you can just go into control decks right now, such as Vivi or even Bonnie, because even if they play it early, they just rest it. If you remember the Bonnie card, the Bonnie leader, it
Yeah, yeah,
so right now people are trying to control the deck, but of course, cheating cards early is just very strong, as we have seen with Magic.
I
yeah.
think one of the bigger issues really for why Sakazuki can be felt, the banning of Sakazuki can be felt really, is that Sakazuki tends to be a very permanent type of control. Rebecca is very combat based control. So, but at the end of the day, you still KO their cards, and there
Hmm.
are a lot of leaders in the format that can just recur cards from the graveyard. So,
Mm-mm.
Yeah,
especially
Gecko
with Black, yeah,
Moria.
Gecko Moria, Black White, Black Yellow Luffy, etc. And Sakazuki is very permanent and just bottom your card, and you will never see that ever again until you draw every other card in your deck. So that's why a lot of the decks feel weaker compared to Sakazuki, but at the same time, there's not really a lot of control options that you can have in the game right now that doesn't feel broken. So, yeah. So.
Nice, nice, nice. Hello, Erickson. Welcome to the stream. Uh, yes, maybe Vanguard is such a good investment right now moving forward. We'll talk about that later. Behind the scenes. So up next, oh,
Oh
we're gonna
yeah,
be talking
uh,
about Vanguard, by the way.
Vanguard. Yeah,
Okay,
Vanguard.
the next deck.
So again, keeping up the hype for Triple Drive Booster, here is Liuhan Maris. So this is a deck that is newly released in the Triple Drive Booster. So again, buy Triple Drive Booster where if it's available again in top deck. So this is another Vanguard swing type of deck. It gets a fourth attack by riding a card from the deck into a second attack, but you don't. But compared to other Vanguard centric decks, you don't get to add the cards into your hand since it goes to the bottom of the deck. So while this doesn't give you much in the terms of hand advantage, it does greatly uh, help you in terms of aggressive advantage. Since you're not wasting any cards to rewrite from the deck, compared to like something like Youthwork or Dot, wherein you have to discard or ride to get that extra Vanguard attack. You just attack, you activate the effect, and then you get to ride from your deck and just swing again.
Yeah.
So this card is just very good. Just in Vanguard, any extra attacks is always going to rip more hand cards from the deck. Especially since Vanguard is, you have to realize most Vanguard is mostly you get three cards every turn, and if you can get four or more cards from your opponent every turn, you're winning the advantage game.
Mm.
Mm-mm.
So yeah, so this deck is very cheap because not a lot of people want to use this because it's not the chase deck in the triple dive, that's Angel Bracing Ladder, but at the same time, even as a new deck, it already has like three top 8 finishes in the current BSF season. So
Nice.
this is something to keep in mind,
Yeah.
especially for the people out there who are watching who will be going to play in BSF.
Yeah, this is one of the decks that I will also be looking out for, just because of how powerful reriding a Vanguard is. That is just free attacks and free advantage for the player who is just keeps on attacking at relentlessly aggressive decks. And of course, I like aggressive decks, so that's
Yeah.
why I will be trying to build this deck.
So the next question is: do we have someone in the team running this deck
I
for
think they already
BSF?
have their decks locked in.
Yeah, I
Mm.
think.
So, but since we got our supply too late right now, so I don't think people will be able to build this. But I think some of them will be trying to.
I also think
Nice.
that most of the players here are trying for control matchups. They don't really want to play into those hyper aggro decks, just because, of course, this is a best of one. Vanguard is best of one. You don't want to rely everything on too much on luck. But of course, if you know how to play the game, if you know you know your matchups, especially for aggro players, this deck is very good.
I see. I see. Very nice. All right. Would you recommend this to a newbie?
Yeah.
Going
It's
into
a very good
Ve-
newbie deck because there's
Oh.
not a lot of thinking required. You just activate the effects, you ride from the deck, you swing again.
Yeah.
That's 4 attacks, no thinking
And
required.
of course,
Nice.
don't forget that Liuhan just has it also has an extra call. It can call without using cards from your hand. You can just
What?
refill your board. Yeah,
Really?
you just refill your board and then you activate the effect of the horse to call a to ride, I mean, from the deck. And then basically, yeah, that's just the deck. Everything here just calls for free, especially this one. This card draws 2 and then calls 2 from hand. So if that's part of greed.
Uh,
If part of greed
that's
is
not.
banned, I don't know why this
This
isn't.
isn't. This is crazy. All right. So looking forward to seeing some of this Keter. And I think some were also pre-ordering for the Divine Z
Yeah,
starter
Divine Z
decks.
starter
So
decks.
are they gonna get some upgrades as well from those?
Not really, because I think the deck is just the deck is already strong from this one set. It doesn't really have anything it needs other than maybe some slight upgrades.
I see. For free.
For free.
Yeah, shout outs to Senti, who hasn't been showing up, but she's probably busy. Busy. All right. So up next, we're gonna be covering the judge call, and of course, we're gonna be covering Magic as well this time. Nice.
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 All right. So this is gonna be a doozy for us in the Magic verse. So this is the judge call that I actually, got very interested over the past weekend because it's a very complicated one to say the least, but it, serves as a reminder for our avid Magic fans uh, on how how the rules work, diba? All right. So the question is: you cast Knight Errant of Eos convoking with 5 Savannah Lions, not Grizzly
Grizzly bear.
Bears, because you cannot cast with Grizzly Bears using convoke on a white creature, a card that has white
White.
pip. So you're gonna need Savannah Lions. So ignore the typo. But opponent responds with Aven Interrupter, a new card which says when it enters the battlefield, exile target spell, it becomes plotted. So it goes into exile, and then he can cast it for free next turn. Spells your opponents cast from graveyards or from exile cost 2 more to cast. So that is the card answering the Knight Errant. So, and then in the next turn, he tries to cast it, but opponent has Trinisphere on the field, which means if as long as Trinisphere is untapped, each spell that would cost less than 3 mana to cast costs 3 mana to cast. So there's a restriction here right now. So the question is, how many Savannah Lions can you convoke with Knight Errants?
Yeah.
You guys don't have any answers?
I
for
already
this?
know the answer because I followed the.
Let me just so I think I saw a video about this. So convoke is a alternate paying cost, right?
Yes.
So you can convoke. How much is it right now?
So it's free.
It's
No,
free
no,
because
but
of
it's
the
fine.
plot.
But you can
Yeah.
you can.
But because
it's currently
even-
plotted.
Yeah, because even Interrupter adds attacks of 2, so
Two.
it's technically 2 to
Two
cast
cast.
right now. So
And then with Trini Spear,
Yeah.
Yeah,
it becomes 3.
yeah, it's three.
Yeah.
So you basically it's you pay for three, but you still have to pay the three again. I think.
Hmm.
Ah, yeah.
Yeah. So, wala may nagkwan, wala may nag. I think no one's excited about this ruling. But here's the spoiler. Yes, the correct answer is three. So Trinisphere is a bit weird. It has its own sentence in the rulings. The effects play here apply in the following order. So you set the discount cost, which is zero after the plot effect, and then Aven increases it to two. So you can technically tap two Savannah lands for the convoke cost. Then Trinisphere comes in and says, no, you gotta set it to three. So technically, you can cast Knight Errant of Eos for its convoke cost with three Savannah Lions.
Mm-mm.
So that is the correct answer.
Yeah.
So, very interesting. But if you're new to Magic, it would definitely be confusing because some would say it's only two, or they could say five because like sometimes they're too focused on the
Mm.
mana cost of Knight Errant, but they forgot it's already free with the new mechanic. Also, as new mechanics come along the way, especially with the recent one in Outlaws, it could also be confusing to even the old players. So, which is why we have these types of
Yeah.
judge calls.
Back in my day.
Back in my day, we
You know, a
had-
card is special if they have their own sentence in the CR.
Yeah. Diba? People used to hate. I think a lot of people hate Trinisphere as well. They have a burning passion for hating this card because it just messes up their their understanding. It kind of, or maybe it kind of that feeling when you think you understood how the game works, but then the card slaps you in the face and says, "No, you don't."
No, you don't.
That's how I feel with Trinisphere. Like, what? That's how it works. Like, and then you just lose the game.
Yeah.
without knowing. So
We love
yep,
taxes.
yeah. So that is my judge call for Magic. I hope you guys enjoyed that. Let's move on to One Piece. Take
Yeah.
it away, Anton.
Here we go. I think this is one. Yeah, this is one. So here we go. NL has the effect once per turn. If this card will leave the field, you may trash one life instead. And then this character will not leave instead. But if there is a Monkey D. Luffy, the effect is negated. So NL on the field is currently at 3,000 power after Jim lowers NL's attack with effects. Jim attempts to bottom the NL and call a 4-cost Luffy using loss effect. Can the opponent use NL's effect to save NL? So again, NL says you may trash one life. If this card will leave the field, you may trash one life instead, but the effect is negated if Monkey D. Luffy is on the field. So what do you think, Jerson?
So I know 3K, and then June attempts to bottom NL for cost Luffy from loss effect.
Loss effect, yeah.
Can opponent use to save? So what does NL say?
You can save him by paying one by trashing one life instead, but the
you
effect is
negate the effect.
it's negated when Luffy is on the field.
Oh, okay. So trash. I'm trying to read the card. There, instead, if monkey
Is on the field.
is it KO? I'm not sure.
It's bottom.
It's bottom.
Yeah, it just says leave. So bounce, bottom, and KO.
If this character would leave.
Yeah.
Oh, can opponent use I would say no because monkey Luffy. I think that's the card that would stop him from doing that.
Mm.
So I would say no.
So you say no. So here's the answer. Bakit ako? Because I think you're the only one who is actually very known for playing RP law. So I just used your
Bakit
name.
ako?
So here's the reasoning here. So effects occur in the order they are written. So law says return one of your opponent's character with 3,000 or less to the bottom of the deck. Then play 4-cost or lower character from your hand. So law attempts to bottom before he calls the Luffy. Therefore, Luffy is not yet on the
Oh.
field and Enos effect will activate when law attempts to remove it from the field. So basically, that's just it.
Okay.
Yeah.
NL can save itself.
Enel can save
He can
itself
save himself.
because, of course, it's then. But I think it's also confusing because in the official Asia English it says end, so that was a point of confusion. But you just followed that effects occur in the order they are written. So the first and then second.
But it says here then. Diba?
Yeah, it says then in English.
Okay.
So yeah,
Interesting. So I like how again it's another straightforward answer, where you just follow the order of the text of of the effects, and uh, there it is.
There it
The
is.
answer.
Yeah, there it is.
Nothing too complicated, unlike the one I just mentioned earlier with Trinisphere. Everyone hates Trinisphere.
So I think it's Anjo's time here for the Vanguard. Here you go. Take it, Anjo.
Okay, here you go. During drive check, Manny reveals Valnot. He does not have any rear guards on the field and he has no other cards in hand. He knows that if he is able to call a unit with Valnot's additional effect and give it plus 1 million power, the opponent will not be able to guard the attack, and Manny will win the game. As a reminder text, over triggers say, when you reveal it as a trigger, you may remove that card, draw a card, choose one, and then give it plus 1 million. Then you may activate the additional effect, which is if you do not have any card on your, if you do not have any rear guards, you may draw a card and then call one unit card from your hand and call it to the rear guard. Unfortunately, though, Manny knows that the next card of his deck is an order card. It's not a unit card, so it cannot be called to rear guard. So is it possible for Manny to sequence the abilities of his overtrigger to be able to win the game? So here we go. The overtrigger has 4 different sub abilities. Remove this card from the game, draw one, give one of your units 1 million power, and perform the additional effect. And according to the comprehensive rules, when your overtrigger abilities resolve, you can resolve them in whichever sub abilities you want. So you can choose one trigger sub ability, play it, and if there are still any trigger sub abilities that remaining, you go back to one. So you activate as many trigger sub abilities until all has been performed, and then the trigger ability ends. So disregard. So again, okay, balik. So disregarding the reminder text, you do not have to do it in the order as the reminder text says. So you may draw one card, activate the additional effect, give one of your units 1 million power, then remove this card from the game.
Oh.
So yeah, so you are able to draw 2 cards first, call the 1 million power. I call the unit and then give it 1 million power, making Manny win the game. So
Yeah, basically.
Whoa.
So of course, you also don't need to follow this exact order because you can remove it at any point.
just
Yeah,
like-
you can just draw one, then remove it, and then activate the additional effect, right?
Yeah.
Basically, you can just stack it in any order you want. It's not, you don't need to follow it just like in One Piece in the same exact order as
Yeah, yeah,
written.
yeah.
So yeah, that's it. That's
So
it.
it's more much of a freeing way to order your effects. Can you give the unit 1 million power first?
Yeah, you can. That is
Okay, so it's
that,
up to you.
that's
But
up to you, yeah.
This is the winning line.
that
for
yeah, that is
Manny.
the winning line for them. So because
Okay.
I think as that happened in our recent weekly tournament,
Hmm.
someone gave their unit 1 million power before they called the card, and it was like, okay, you can have it.
Oh no! And he lost.
Because of that. So that's why I put it here, just to teach the people
Remind them,
yeah,
yeah.
especially for the people going to VSF, that you can order your effects in how any manner you want. Trigger effects, I mean, yeah.
Ooh, okay, noted. I think that's a very good lesson to learn, especially for.
Especially for losing, that's a very good lesson to learn.
Okay. But what was his explanation when he did that?
He was not.
Where?
He didn't know that.
Okay, he didn't know. All
He
right.
just read the reminder text. I thought you had to follow the reminder text
Mm.
as written. Yeah.
I see. Yeah, because sometimes if you want to be playing safe, you gotta read the card, diba?
Mm-mm.
And then you just follow however it's written. But I think it's a different case for Vanguard where there's a lot of leeway to playing around the order of these effects, which is nice, but needed to be taken noted.
You have to also realize what Anton's judge call was said. Effects activate in the order they are written, and I'm just here saying, yeah, you can choose whichever order you want.
I see.
So that's
Alright.
why judges are very important, because
Very.
yeah,
Yeah.
different games have different judge rulings.
Oops. All right. So, anything else for our judge call? I think that's it, right?
Yeah, I think that's it.
Nice,
Yeah.
nice. All right. So, this is TD Bapo with the G Bros. We'll see you in the next episode.
Bye,
Thank you, guys. Take care. Goodbye. Woo.